Coming up on iOS today, Rosemary Orchard is back, and we are talking some of our favorite features of iOS 15 and iPadOS 15. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This podcast is supported by AT&T. If there are friends and family members you haven't talked to in a while, don't worry. It's never too late to reconnect. To help, AT&T is offering deals on the latest smartphones. It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving new and existing customers their best deals on every smartphone, even the latest ones. Restrictions and exceptions may apply. Visit att.com for details. And this podcast is brought to you by Udacity. Gain in-demand tech skills in as little as 3 months with Udacity's part-time online tech courses. Visit udacity.com/twit and get 75% off any program with code TWIT75. That is a limited time offer. Hello, hi, and howdy. It is time for iOS Today, the show where we talk all things iOS, tvOS, HomePodOS, iPadOS. It's all the OSs that Apple has on offer here on iOS Today. We've got a great episode planned for you today. I am one of your hosts, Mikah Sargent.
And I'm Rosemary Orchard, and I'm back. I went on holiday for a week, and it was wonderful. I'm glad to be back there, Mikah. I missed you.
Yay. I missed you too. I am glad, though, that you got to take some time, got to go on vacay or holiday, as you say. But we are happy to have you back, very much so. And today, in celebration of yesterday's launch of many of Apple's new versions of their operating systems, we thought we would talk about some of our favorite features. And in true form, I am not surprised that one of Rosemary's favorite features is one that is all about automation. It is an incredibly powerful feature that is so intimidating that despite me having and testing iOS 15 over the course of the summer after Apple announced it, I have yet to set up any of this specific feature because it seems like it's a lot, but I know it could be powerful. So, Rosemary, tell us about the feature and tell us how to get things rolling with this feature.
Well, the feature I want to talk about first is focus mode. So people who are familiar with Do Not Disturb already actually know what a focus mode is. Congratulations. It is essentially Do Not Disturb on steroids. So we had Do Not Disturb while driving that appeared a couple of iOSs ago. And that, when you're driving, we'll send a message back and say, hey, I'm driving right now. If it's urgent, reply with urgent and it'll break through. And then we got sleeping and sleep mode last year. And that was a different kind of Do Not Disturb. And this year, well, in True Apple Forum, they've amped it up a little bit. And instead of just having Do Not Disturb, sleep mode, and Do Not Disturb while driving, we have focus modes, which takes all of those options and it allows us to create our own ones as well. So, for example, there's Do Not Disturb still exists. There's driving, there's sleep, there's work, personal, and of course, for me, I've added my own called podcasting. You'll see it's on right now. And if I pop into that one, then I can give you a little overview of podcasting, my personal little focus mode. So I've got allowed notifications from 3 people, okay? Because I podcast with 3 different people. So I've got David Sparks, Micah Sargent, and Scotty Jackson in here. And I can also allow calls from my favorites. And these are the favorites saved in the favorites section of the phone app on iPhone. I can also explicitly allow certain applications. And here I've chosen to allow messages in Zoom because obviously I use Zoom to record podcasts most of the time. And that's what I needed there. But what you can do as well as allowing certain people and certain apps to get in touch with you is you can have multiple different home screens on your device. Okay, so if I swipe up from the bottom, this, of course, is the iPad. I had a little accident with my phone before the show, and it's currently trying to install an update/restore my phone. I'm not sure what's going on. I'll fix that later. So, of course, I'm not using the device that I've actually got the separate home screen set up on. But you can see I've got a lot of home screens here. And if I wanted to just use this home screen right here, while I'm podcasting, Then back in settings under lock screen, sorry, not under lock screen, under home screen, I can choose custom pages. And when I enable this and I choose a page and I tap done, then I can just see these pages here. And then when I go back, look, there's just an app library and a notification center. And that's it. All of my other home screens have vanished. And this is great, especially because like day to day, I might not want to see this home screen at all. And you can add more home screens and so on when you're not in a focus mode to allow that. So you can create multiple different home screens and you can swap them. Of course, there's a whole bunch of automation possibilities in here. I'm actually going to save that for Shortcuts Corner because I know a lot of people are going to be very excited about the automation options that they can do with focus modes. But what I really like here is the share across devices. And Mikah, for me, this has been a game changer. I don't know how many times I have left my iPad or one of my iPads. I have an iPad Mini and an iPad Pro in the other room. I've gone to bed and I'm lying there and I can hear ding, ding, ding of messages coming through because I was using that device before bed. And so I turned off silent mode and so on because I wanted to hear the notifications while I was using it. And then I forgot to turn it off. And it didn't go into Do Not Disturb automatically. Maybe it wasn't Do Not Disturb and I took it out because I was missing messages from people, as sometimes happens. And oh my gosh, is that the most frustrating thing on the planet? Well, this sync or share across devices feature for focus modes has completely and utterly fixed that problem for me because I go to bed and what I do, I've got a little NFC tag by my bed. So for people who aren't sure, NFC tags, they're a special kind of sticker or a plastic chip. And I'm going to try and hold one up here so that you can kind of see if you're watching the video stream. It's a sticker with, lines and some, it's a chip inside of it, basically. It's easier to see it through the back, I think, where your phone can read it. And all your phone does with Shortcuts is it reads the ID of the tag. There doesn't need to be any data on it whatsoever. But I have one by my bed and I just tap my phone on it and put my phone on the charger. And when I tap my phone on it, it sets my phone into sleep mode. It checks to make sure if I've got any early meetings the next day, it can modify an alarm and so on and so forth. But by putting my phone in sleep mode, that tells my other iPads, that tells my Mac running macOS Monterey, because I've got a Mac running macOS Monterey, not this one, because I didn't want you or anyone in the studio to want to kill me today. But it puts everything in sleep mode. And that actually triggers further automations, which makes other things happen as well. But the brilliance of this is it does mean that I go to bed and I tap my phone on this tag and all of my devices go into sleep mode. And that's it. So there's no dings and bings coming from another room and I'm having to get up and wander around, especially in the winter. It's a little bit chilly. Don't necessarily want to be doing that, but this is great. The other thing, of course, is it's on watchOS as well. It's going to be really hard to demo this, so I'm not going to. But if you swipe up into the control center on watchOS, then you can actually set your focus mode from right here. And I'll pull it off my wrist and see if I can show people on the screen. I'm going to have to re-input my passcode a second to make that happen. But there we go. If I scroll down to the bottom, where'd the camera go? There it is. You can just about see a headphone icon there next to the walkie-talkie option. And that is my focus mode. It's actually purple in real life. It's not the blue it's showing up as on camera, but that matches the color and the icon that I set up on my iPad when I created this focus mode. And, it works. And I can just select my focus mode right here and it syncs to all my devices. And I've been experimenting on and off over the last couple of months with lots of different focus modes. So one that I have been experimenting with is a cooking focus mode. Now, in the end, I've ended up not using this because I don't want to stop getting notifications while I'm cooking. All I was doing there was basically triggering a specific watch face, which wasn't a great use of a focus mode because there are a limited number of focus modes that you can create. But it's really good. I am just going to show people very quickly how they can enable a focus mode in Control Center. Because if you swipe down from the top right, the Control Center has changed up a little bit with iOS 15. And where the Do Not Disturb was now, if you tap and hold on that, then you'll see all of your focus modes. And you can also tap here to create a new focus mode and jump straight into that area in the settings as well. But if you tap and hold, then you can choose your focus modes. And if you tap on the three dots to the side, then you can also choose to enable it for a specific period of time, for an hour, until this evening, until you leave your location, or until the end of the event. And there are settings as well, because I did forget to mention, you can schedule focus modes. So there's a smart activation feature where it can automatically detect, okay, this is the kind of places that you physically go to when you usually enable this focus mode, or you're usually opening these apps at this kind of time of day, or it can just straight up do it at different times on specific days of the week. When you arrive at a particular location, sorry, just trying to cancel it out of there because that's, there we go. And it can also do it when you open specific applications, which is great. So if you want a reading focus mode, then you could say, when I open the Books app, and also if I scroll down and look for the Kindle app, which should be down here, then both of those can enable, in this case, it would enable my podcasting one. So it's not a great idea, but you get the idea. And you can also disable these. So while I was on holiday, and I was taking a break, I went in and I disabled this turn on automatically for my work focus mode. And then when I came back, I just toggled it back on and that was it. And I'm back, with automated focus modes, which I love. And this is working, really well for me. It's good. I specifically really like having the different home screens, because then I swipe up on my lock screen and look at my phone and, oh, wow. Okay, yeah, I'm supposed to be working. I'm not supposed to be checking Discord or, browsing Reddit or whatever. There's a mail and Outlook there that I need to respond to or something like that. And so it's really useful from that perspective, because it does just help you do a little bit of a mind shift for people who try to, focus on specific areas. And so I'm going to do this kind of thing and I'm going to do this kind of thing. Like if you're a college student, you might have a in-class focus mode versus a studying focus mode versus a casual study mode. And the casual study mode could allow notifications through from friends and so on, whereas your regular study mode doesn't. And then your in-class one might have, different apps so that you can easily access the in-class notes or something. But I really like focus modes. They are brilliant. If you haven't gone and set them up, work and personal are there. And what you do, you just tap on it. I've left for personal not set up for the entire summer so that I would have this, Mikah. So you can just tap on it to set it up. So I'll just do that again. Tap next, and then you can choose. It's got some people here who I can say that I want to get messages or notifications from. I can also just tap and remove all. I don't want notifications from anyone. I want calls from everyone, no one, my favorites, all my contacts, or even specific groups. So if you have a group of your work contacts, then you can allow that group through automatically instead of going through and selecting everybody in your phone address book from work. And you can also enable repeated calls, which is great. I really like that feature. And then you choose which applications you get notifications from. And you can also choose whether or not to allow time-sensitive notifications. Time-sensitive are things like, for example, if a flood is detected in your HomeKit home and you've got a flood sensor, that will break through, as will things like locks unlocking or locking and things like that. But something like, hey, you got an email from Amazon about a sale is not going to come through. That's not time sensitive. And so, that's good. And developers have been updating to support all of this as well. And then when it's done, it's right there. And I should say, if you have, and I'll just pop into the podcasting mode, lock screen options, you can choose to dim on the lock screen and show on the lock screen. And then I've dimmed my lock screen here, and you can just see under the time, there's a little icon there with some headphones. And apparently Maddie has a mood going on today, which is very entertaining as always. So I probably need to disable Discord notifications while I am doing this. But hey, that's, it's all about tweaking things, and basically do not disturb went on steroids, and we have focus modes now, and they're great. There is something I should mention, which is that your focus state can be shared with applications. So for example, Mikah, when I message you and I know it's late at night, I actually see Mikah has focus turned on. in the messages,
Yes.
and I can tap to notify you anyway. Now, personally, I don't tap this because I'm there going, Mike is sleeping. I'm just sending him a show idea, and the show's not until Tuesday anyway. And it's like, I don't know, Wednesday. So we've got plenty of time. I don't need to wake him up for this. But you can toggle share focus status off, and then it won't share it in things. And also, if you go back, if you just have a play around with all of this, then you'll find, whether or not this is useful to you, and so on. You might want to enable it for some things, but not others. So, for example, for podcasting, I definitely don't want that enabled. Thank you very much. But for other things, like, for example, if if I set up an exercise one, then I might say, actually, yeah, I want to share this because if something's important, then people should be able to interrupt me anyway. But I really do love that it syncs between all my devices. This was that for me was the killer part of focus modes. It syncs between my devices. I set it on one and it's everywhere.
So I've got a couple of things to say about focus modes, and then we'll take a quick break. Because here's the sort of ironic thing about focus modes is that, so I, back in college, I've talked about it before, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and focus modes is one of those things that would be incredibly helpful as a person with ADHD. But the sort of the understanding that we have for ADHD is that a lot of the time, the executive dysfunction that happens because the person with ADHD, the task that they're supposed to be focusing on is one that is not interesting to them. It's a struggle to sort of find interest in a specific task and be able to use that to sort of complete that task. And so for me, while I know that focus modes would be helpful, the thought of going through the process to set them up is, for me, not an engaging thing. And so given that, it is like it would take a lot of work to want to sit down and get this set up. But I know that once I did, I would be very pleased about it. It would be very helpful for me. So I kind of wish that there was a way to share focus modes that, as somebody who's created a really good focus mode, you could go, oh yeah, that's precisely what I want. And on the other hand, I want Siri intelligence to continue to improve so that these suggestions get better to a point that they are kind of a full featured suggestion for what your focus mode could be. Because I think that even the suggestions that are available right now, while they are a good sort of jumping off point, it's not quite what someone would want, where it's just sort of let's go ahead and enable this. And so the focus modes that I use are do not disturb and sleep. And I still have personal and work just kind of sitting there waiting to be set up because I just haven't gotten the activation energy, to use a chemical, the chemical term. I haven't gotten the activation energy required to set it up. So I wish that I could tap into yours and Matthew's interest in this, just for a little bit of time, because there are people with ADHD who wouldn't have trouble setting this up because for them this is an engaging activity. This is something that is of interest to them. And it just happens to fall outside of mine. And so it's like, oh man, it feels like such a grueling task, but oh boy, it would be really nice to have it. So yeah. I apparently also have ADHD, but yes, this was something that really grabbed my attention. I went, yes, I can do this. And then I spend so much time tweaking things. There is one tiny bug that seems to have made it through to the release candidate that everybody got yesterday that I should mention. And that is calls from no caller ID will not break through a focus mode. And that can be problematic for a lot of people. You probably have that turned off anyway. If that's the case, don't worry about it. It doesn't apply to you. But if you're somebody like me whose doctor's surgery calls out using no caller ID, you may miss phone calls if you're using a focus mode. So I would just suggest if you experience this, please file feedback with Apple, because if they don't know about it, they can't fix it. I have filed feedback on this, so hopefully it's going to get fixed in the not too distant future. But if you are expecting a phone call from a number that comes through or from a place that
calls out with no caller ID, then you may want to disable your focus mode until you've received that phone call and then re-enable it afterwards. Just because otherwise you could miss something important like a doctor's appointment, which would not be great.
Agreed. All right, folks, we are going to take a quick break. Before we come back, I want to tell you that this podcast is supported by AT&T. Look, if there are friends and family members you haven't talked to in a while, well, don't worry, because it's never too late to reconnect. And to help, AT&T is offering deals on the latest smartphones. Latest smartphones, you say? It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving new and existing customers their best deals on every smartphone, even the latest ones. Restrictions and exceptions may apply. Visit att.com for details. Alrighty, folks, we are back with more. It is time to talk about the next fave on the list. And this is one that I am very happy about because it feels inclusive. It lets folks outside of the Apple ecosystem be a part of the experience that is FaceTime on iOS and elsewhere. So there's a new feature in iOS 15 called FaceTime Links. And Apple has a great support guide for it that shows you how to join a FaceTime call if you're on an Android device or if you are on a Windows PC using Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. What this does is a lot like some of the other applications that are out there, Zoom, Skype, etc., that let you set up a link for a call. This does the same thing. You can set up a FaceTime conversation that is available at a link, and then someone on an Android phone or elsewhere would be able to join the call. So I'm going to switch over here, and actually I'm going to see if I can't make this work with this Android device I have sitting here. Let me beep, boop, up. Oh no, I hit emergency call. We don't want to do that.
Oops. Please don't do that, Mikah.
They would be like, hi, what's going on here? Okay, so let me switch over. And so you can see my phone here with FaceTime calls. And I mostly missed FaceTime calls because who calls people? Anyway, so we'll tap Create Link. And you can see here, it shows an upcoming FaceTime link. Immediately, you have the option to add a name to it. You can send it to specific people. You could airdrop it to somebody if you wanted to. You can copy, etc. So I'm going to choose Add Name, and we're going to call this iOS Today Link, or excuse me, Call. And I'll tap OK. And then I'm going to temporarily turn off this view so that I can send it to myself over email. So I'm just using my email application to mail this link to myself so that I can pop it open on my Android device. And we'll see what happens here. So now I've got my Android device here, and I'm going to go to the Gmail application. And you'll see that here, let me show again on my iPhone. You can see up at the top, there's an upcoming option that has now popped up. And I can tap on the I and share this link as I want to, or join the call right away. What I'm going to do is get on my on my Android device. I'll tap on the link, which shows facetime.apple.com, and it pops open. It looks like, yes. So here you can see, for folks who are listening, I'll describe it. It shows the FaceTime logo, and it says, enter your name to join the conversation. So I'm going to call myself Android, and I'll tap continue. And then it says facetime.apple.com wants to use your camera and microphone. I'll tap allow, and I'll tap while using the app to give it permissions. And now it looks like I'm in the waiting room because it has a little join button at the top. And there are options for the microphone, the camera, to take a photo, to make it full screen, and the three dots, which is the more button, to share the link with other people and to change the camera that's being used. So I'm going to choose join so that I can join the call. and it says that it's waiting to be let in. And that's because I need to go back on my iPhone. I'll tap to join. Now I can see myself here. I'll tap join, and it says one person is waiting. And now we'll have to blur that. And it just said that you are sort of that your caller ID information is available. And so now at the top, it shows iOS Today call, and it shows one person waiting. I'll tap on that, and I will say, oh, yes, I do want Android to join. I choose the checkbox, and then suddenly, and I will mute. There we go. Oh, my. That
Android's having a day there.
Yeah. That doesn't look great, which is odd because on the Android device itself, I can see both of the screens just fine. So it's just on the iOS device that it's not showing up properly. So anyway, the point is, with that link, I love that it has this sort of, it's got the full experience where there's a checkbox. So you can say, yes, I want this person to be able to join, or no, I don't want this person to be able to join. On my iOS device, I have all of the normal FaceTime features, like being able to add filters and different stickers and things like that to the conversation. You can see there are emoji stickers, for example. So I could add a fire emoji, and that shows up on my person on the Android device as well. I can change the view so that it's landscape instead of portrait mode. And all of the features that are normal for FaceTime are there, even if I'm using an Android device. And you'll also notice that there's, oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was landscape. No, that is a nice portrait mode blur on the background of the photo. So you can see it. Let me turn that off, and the background gets clearer, or I turn that on and you could see the portrait mode blur that's available there. So this is FaceTime Links. This gives, I think that this is a little bit of Apple trying to play catch up with some of the other services that are out there, like Zoom, so that business calls could happen on iPhones, via FaceTime, but also for family calls. So, think about if you've got an upcoming birthday or something like that, and you want family members to be able to join and sort of be part of the experience, creating a FaceTime link that folks can be a part of is a really good way to go about that. So now I've got that iOS Today call that I could share with anybody. I can join that at any time. And then when I'm done, I can just swipe to the left to delete it. And that will remove it from the phone. Now, what's kind of cool too is that if you look very closely, you can see in the bottom right corner of the circle of that iOS Today call, there's a little mail icon. And that is because my phone is linked up to my mail account, and it found that found that invite for the FaceTime call. And so it actually can suggest, if Rosemary were to send me a link to a FaceTime call, it would show up in that area and give me the ability to easily tap on that link and be able to join that FaceTime call. So this is great for anybody who wants to be able to FaceTime with their friends who are running different devices other than running different software other than iOS, iPadOS, etc. So if you're on an Android machine or a Windows machine, you too can be part of the party of FaceTime. And I am... other than that error that I don't know if it was because I was using the built-in browser for Gmail as opposed to having it jump out to the full browser on the Android device. Like, there are a whole bunch of reasons why that wasn't showing up properly. So I'll troubleshoot that to figure out what's going on there. But outside of that, I am very impressed with the FaceTime links, because it does seem to be you just click on the link, you head there, and all of your features are still available. I thought for sure that, some of those would be cut off if you ended up just like the green bubbles of your messages. I thought for sure there would be an issue here, but there aren't. So very good to see that working.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that FaceTime is in general getting some improvements. And the next feature I'm going to talk about actually improves FaceTime, but it also improves your audio in a whole bunch of different applications. And Apple are calling this filter background sounds, but you'll actually find it on your device as microphone modes. So what I've got here is I'm wearing some AirPods Max on my legs because that's how you demo things in production, because I needed to connect my AirPods Max to my iPad Pro. And I'm actually here using Zoom on my iPad Pro. I'm not using FaceTime. And if I swipe down to go into the control center, then there's something called mic mode. And essentially what it is your AirPods, among other devices, have a microphone built into them. And what you can do is you can change the mode of your microphone to focus on your voice or to enable a wide spectrum of sounds. So for example, if you were taking part in a music lesson, then you would want to use the wide spectrum so that the teacher could hear your instrument at the same time as hearing you. Because otherwise a regular, the standard mode might try and cut the instrument out. But voice isolation means that, say, for example, you're moving some things around on your desk and you're rattling some things around. That's a little hard to hear. I'll rattle something next to my microphone and let's see. It's not really making much of a sound, but there we go. Things like that would come through. But with voice isolation, it's really going to narrow in and zoom in and focus on your voice and try to eliminate the other sounds. And then if you find that maybe, you actually do want people to be able to hear a little bit of what you're doing, then of course you can switch to the standard mode, which is what is on by default. But that is right there in the control center when you have a supported device connected. And this basically just means that we get better experiences communicating with friends and family members in meetings and so on and so forth with the microphones built into our devices because they're using software to improve upon the hardware that's already there. And I have to say, I've had quite a few Zoom calls with some friends recently. It's been great. I think that the microphone modes really do improve things when I remember to use them. It would be ideal if it could just happen automatically. Unfortunately, there's no automations for that just yet. But I'm quite liking the microphone modes. They are really helpful. It's as a little feature. You'll find it in the control center on iPhones and iPads when you've got the right devices connected. AirPods Max definitely work. AirPods Pro should work, but AirPods themselves, unfortunately, don't have this feature. However, maybe at the next event, we'll see some new AirPods. I don't know, Micah. I know I've got a new iPad coming, but there are no new AirPods coming just yet.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them. I'll tell you that. We'll see when those come, because I am waiting to upgrade my AirPods Pro to a new model. So fingers crossed we see a new version of that, because I don't want to get the AirPods Max. So I just need some AirPods.
See, Micah, don't they come in a gorgeous green color? I mean, I know these ones are blue, but don't they come in a really nice green?
Yeah, but I've heard good things. I've heard bad things. I've heard semi-okay things. And it's just for the price. I really want them to be, next level. And also there's just something quite nice about the little, not having to take up so much space. Sometimes I get warm in headphones. So anyway. Yeah. This next feature is kind of inspired by seeing someone use the new version of iOS and, not having used it all over the course of the summer. My partner last night updated his phone to iOS 15 and he was playing around with it. We were watching a show and it was funny because every time something would stick out, he'd point his phone at me and say, "What's this? Why is this doing this? What's the point of this?" And so I would kind of learn what are the new features that are really sticking out and which ones are interesting, which ones are bad, which ones not bad, but were troublesome for him, etc. And one of those that I think we're very familiar with because I've seen so many help guides and things like that about it is the new design for Safari. So Safari has this new thing called a compact tab bar. And with it, the bar is sort of all put into these little tabs. On iPad, it's sort of put into these tabs that exist as part of the actual URL bar. But the old school version was where the sort of search bar / URL bar was at the top, and underneath it were tabs. And then on iOS, the tab bar gets moved to the bottom of the screen. So instead of being at the top of the screen, it shows up at the bottom. So you can see if you're watching down there at the bottom of the screen is the tab bar because it's closer to your thumbs. That's the whole idea, is that the fingers that you're most likely using to sort of navigate through pages are there at the bottom. You can swipe between pages and tabs just by swiping across that bottom bar to get to the next one. But it's different. And no matter how many times people tell you they like change, humans are predisposed to not enjoy change. It makes us uncomfortable at a sort of preternatural level. And so if you jump into this and you think, oh, golly, I do not like this new way of doing things, don't you worry, because you can turn this off. So, some of it. So let's hop into the Settings app. And if we scroll down in the Settings app, we can tap on Safari. And if we scroll down a bit, you'll see that there is a section called Tabs. And in this, there is the tab bar and the single tab option. Now, all you have to do is switch from tab bar, which is on the left, to single tab, which is on the right, to turn off that feature. And then if you also want to, you can turn it off in landscape as well by toggling on or off landscape tab bar. I went back to the old school style. I like it better. There are lots of arguments about, the web seems to be designed for the tab bar being at the top, which makes sense because that's the way that it's been for so long. And then you can do the same thing on iPadOS. It's the feature is a little bit differently named. Again, you'd launch the Settings app, you'd tap on Safari, and then underneath tabs, instead of separate tab bar, separate tab bar is the one that we're used to. Compact tab bar is the new one. In this case, the new feature is on the right. The feature we're used to is on the left. And then that's that on that. So those are the options that you have there because the bar is still at the top. I currently have compact tab bar turned on. But that's because I just updated this this iPad. So I'm actually going to change that to separate tab bar because I want to keep things how they were before. So while there are a bunch of fun new features for Safari, or not features per se, but rather redesign of Safari, you may find that it's just not your cup of tea. And so it's very easy to toggle that back to the way that it was before. And if you've got a Mac and you're upgrading there as well, then you'll recognize that there's also that new redesign, and you can turn that on and off too. Another interesting thing, another anecdote is my partner did not realize how many tabs he had open on his device. And so switching to iOS 15, it was just scrolling. I think it was like 336 tabs total. Wow. Just tab after tab after tab. So there's a new feature in iOS 15 called tab groups. It's actually pretty cool. The idea there is that, you might be browsing the web to do some research. Maybe you're like me, planning on going on a hike. And so you have several tabs that relate to, different people who've gone on the hike before. They've shared on their blogs some things. And then you're also wanting to make sure that you've got your plant identification information handy. And so you can set up different tab groups for different topics. And so I could have one called hiking. The example that Apple has here is inspiration. And so switching between tab groups switches between those different tabs that are synced across all of your devices, as long as they're running the latest version of iOS or iPadOS. And then they're able to be opened on any of those devices. And as folks are pointing out in the chat, Scooter X is talking about the iOS Safari extension for 1Password. That's another change, a really cool one in iOS 15 that lets you, the extensions are a little different from what you're used to in iOS. And so 1Password like it is in the browser on Safari or Chrome or what have you, is part of the Safari experience as opposed to being part of the keyboard experience. And so it's kind of fun to have it right there in the app. And then there are some other extensions available as well. So yeah, I was really pleased with the Safari features that were added, but most happy with the fact that the designers of the new look of Safari were not so prideful that they didn't offer users a way to roll some things back if they wanted to. The fact that those options are there is, 2 thumbs up that you didn't let your pride get in the way of keeping users happy and able to use the apps that they want to use, or use Safari in the way that they want to use it. So good on you there.
Yes. I do just want to quickly mention, Mikah, because you said about your partner who had 336 tabs open or however many. And my mom does this, my grandmother does this, my dad does this. They all end up with so many tabs. And quite frankly, they don't care about the old tabs anymore. If they're looking for something, they'll just open a new tab. There's actually a feature that you can enable inside of settings under Safari. If you scroll down under the settings for tabs that Mike was talking about just now, there's also a close tabs option where you can say manually, that's the default. You can close tabs automatically after a day, after a week, or after a month. I've set this on everybody else's device who I end up managing to a month, because otherwise I will occasionally get a call of, where did my tab go? But for my devices, it's a week, because I try my best to not keep open tabs as a list of things to do. But I have been using tab groups. Tab groups are really useful for me. I've really enjoyed them. So I'm glad that that's become a thing.
Absolutely. I think on my iPhone, I have them set to a month. On my iPad, I have it set to close them manually. I am pretty good about closing tabs. For some reason, I have like it doesn't make sense to me, but I tend to. There's sort of a space in my brain that is occupied by tabs, and so I can feel it when there are a bunch of tabs open. So I have to go through and close them whenever I'm done with them. But so on iPad, if they're there, I want them to stay there. But on my iPhone, they close manually after a period of time, and I think I might have to covertly turn that feature on. All right, let's take a quick break. I don't recommend doing that. But let's take a quick break before we come back with more. I want to tell you about Udacity, who are bringing you this episode of iOS Today. Udacity offers a unique part-time online education program geared for those who are looking to take their tech knowledge to the next level with specialized and exciting content. Udacity offers the latest cutting-edge nano-degree programs, many of which are not available anywhere else, including AI, deep learning, get this, flying car and autonomous flight engineer, intro to self-driving cars, machine learning engineer, and robotics software engineer. To create the course content, Udacity partners with industry leaders such as Microsoft, Google, IBM, AWS, and more, and selects team leads at top companies to be the instructors. If you love learning and are always looking to know more new tech stuff, then Udacity is for you. It can help you master the latest tech skills and techniques. Courses are project-based with active learning that covers cutting-edge technology and lets you test your knowledge. Homework and projects are reviewed by qualified professionals, so you are going to have real human feedback and reviews with access to mentors 24/7. And Udacity's flexible schedules mean you can put in just about 5 to 10 hours a week working at your own pace any time of the day or nights and graduate in as little as 3 months. The World Economic Forum estimates that 75 million jobs will be replaced by automated processes within the next 3 years. So Udacity prepares its students for the jobs of the future. More than 14 million people in over 240 countries now use Udacity. You can check out their detailed course listings at udacity.com. And once you enroll as a student in a specific course offering, you're going to be prompted to view the online course as well as complete a series of projects and support courses. They offer flexible payment options, and you can learn at your own pace and schedule. And you can check it out with Udacity's free courses. And by the way, does your team need to master cutting-edge technologies like data science, AI, and cybersecurity? Well, with Udacity for Enterprise, you can upskill your entire workforce with real-world project-based learning. Be sure to check out the enterprise section of Udacity's website today. Get the in-demand tech skills you need to advance your career. Visit udacity.com/twit and get 75% off any program with code TWIT75. It's a limited time offer. That's udacity.com/twit and enter TWIT75. Thanks so much to Udacity for sponsoring this week's episode of iOS Today. We do appreciate you and appreciate those excellent courses for helping you learn new skills. All right, Rosemary Orchard, tell me what's next in your favorite iOS 15 features.
So, Micah, my next feature is all from Safari and, in fact, everything that is sent to you. Because I don't know about you, but I have friends sending me links and cool things and interesting things all the time. And you know what? I get a little bit distracted. That might be an ADHD thing. So, it's nice to have shared with me where I can just go and look at all things that were links maybe that were sent and shared to me. So if I switch over to my iPad here, I'm just going to tweak that a little bit. There we go. And I open the left-hand tab bar. So that's using this icon over in the top left. Then I can go down to shared with me. And there's all sorts of great things here, including this really cute little picture or video, of a cat doing laundry, which if I open there, it takes me to Reddit and I can watch this tiny little kitten doing some laundry. And it's cute. It's adorable. I wouldn't have been able to refine this quite so easily. And oops, the kitten fell on the floor, which was the highlight of the video, of course. But I really like this. This shows up in a lot of places on iOS. And we'll put the link to the official documentation on this in the show notes for everybody who can go and have a look at that. And it's not just in Safari, it's in multiple places within iOS. And that's great because it shows up, for example, in the TV application. And music and podcasts and news and even photos, which is just great. And I really love that it's there for us so that we can easily, pop into any of these apps and see different media of these kinds from lots of different people who share things with us, which is great. So I really like this feature. It's a small feature seemingly, but I also... But I'm quite aware that it's probably also been a big thing to program and pull together because it's pulling things from so many different sources. And I really love it. It's great.
Yeah, I think it's very impressive. The different places that it's able to pull from I thought that I would be a little annoyed by it, that it would be kind of overbearing with the different share features, but it's not intrusive. It doesn't feel like it's taking over or anything like that. It just, it gives you some suggestions at different places of things that you've seen. And it's a good reminder. I think that they were being smart about the psychology of context and understanding that, because there have been studies that show that walking through a door is enough to make you forget something because of the way that the brain sort of compartmentalizes. And so leaving the Messages app and going to a different app that has new stimuli, it could be enough to make you forget a thing. So being able to be in that context and see what it was that was shared with you is a good reminder of, oh, right, I was supposed to look at this thing, or I did want to look at this thing. Or in the Apple TV app, someone shares some show with you. Oh, right, I wanted to watch that. All of that's been very handy to be able to keep my brain sort of up to date with different things that have been shared. So shared with you is a neat new feature that I think shows the power of having this sort of all-encompassing network of iOS that can sort of pull information from different places in a very smart way. The last feature that I want to mention that I think is really cool, and most of this we'll have to show the page about it because it doesn't have a whole lot of physical representation without me having to reveal a bunch of my own personal information. It's called iCloud Plus. And if you're an Apple One subscriber, then you will get... I got an email about this saying, hey, you get a free thing of iCloud Plus to go along with it. But iCloud Plus is this addition to Apple's iCloud network that gives you some really cool features, including what's called iCloud Private Relay, which we've talked before on the show about it. iCloud Private Relay is it's kind of complicated because it's a mixture of different technologies that help keep you private while you're browsing online. So it will, when you go online to look at, to go to a web page, it routes that traffic through one of Apple's servers, and then it randomizes your I think on its way to that server, it's randomizing your IP. And then from Apple's server, it randomizes your IP again as it bounces to one of the third-party CDNs or services. And so by the time that information gets back to you for that site that you've gone to, you are so far detached from it. And you can even go as far as to sort of make your location even more broad so that they can't use an IP to sort of know where you are in a place. So you have adjustments and little settings that you can change with that to make it even more obscure as to where you are and who you are. This is just one of those features that on its face sounds kind of complicated, but the whole point of it is to help keep you from being tracked online, because being tracked online is a big thing. A big way that companies are, learning more about you and building a profile of who you are. And Apple has continued to be very clear that they don't want that for its customers. And so this is one way to handle that. Now, this feature is still in beta, because they're still working on it, still ironing out the kinks. And so you will see a beta tag next to it, but you can access it by launching settings, tapping on your name at the top of the screen in settings, choosing iCloud in your settings, and then looking on that list until you find, and here I can show you, until you find private relay. And again, on mine, it shows in parentheses beta. As you'll see, I currently have it off. That's because, given that it's still in beta, it does slow down my connection quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have it turned on, but I'm hoping that as they get this ironed out and they roll it out in a big way, that feature is going to improve and be better at doing that relay where you don't lose a whole lot of movement or a whole lot of speed rather with it. So mine's currently turned off, but turning it on will sort of enable it across your devices. And from that point on, you'll have a private relay. The next one is called Hide My Email. This is a really simple one. Anytime you go to fill out a form online, Apple will give you sort of above your keyboard the option to, quote, hide my email. What this does is it generates a random email address that is automatically forwarded to your actual email address that you can set up in the settings. So you could set it to, your Gmail account or to your in my case, @me account, or in your @iCloud account. And so each email or each service can have its own randomized email, meaning that services can't compare you across different accounts. So I might sign up for, a kitchen countertop service, and I might sign up for a kitchen sink service and a kitchen appliances service. And those three can't go, Micah at his Gmail account has signed up at all these things. Let's send him a bunch of ads about remodeling a kitchen. Instead, they're all randomized. And so it's only tied to that one place. And what does that also mean? It means that if you get random emails to that email address that aren't linked to that account, you know that service sold your email address or gave it away to another ad network or gave it away to some other service for them to be able to email you. So it's a really good way to also kind of have proof that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing in terms of keeping your email safe. And then the next one is called Custom Email Domain. And this one I think is pretty cool. Hover is a sponsor of the network, and we've talked a lot about Hover. I've got a bunch of different domains that I've purchased from Hover, and I have been able to, using iCloud, set up email addresses for some of those domains. So I've got the email domain, the domain Mikah.tech and Mikah.space. And so now I have some email addresses that are tied to those actual domains that are handled through iCloud. So when people email those accounts, then it gets forwarded to my iCloud account, and I can see those there. And then people can also, instead of choosing to give out my phone number to someone, I can say, you can text me through iMessage at one of those email addresses. So that's a really fun one, I think, for folks who have domains that are just kind of sitting there. This feature gives you the ability to set those up. And then the last thing is HomeKit secure video support for an unlimited number of cameras on the 2 terabyte storage plan, for up to 5 cameras on the 200 gigabyte plan. And this just means that if you have HomeKit secure video cameras in your home, then those will be able to store that video in the cloud, and you'll be able to access that. And depending on which storage plan you have, you only have a certain number of cameras that you can have that do this. I have the 2 terabyte plan, and so I could have 15 cameras if I wanted to, storing my information, but I just have a few. So that is iCloud Plus. It's a pretty cool premium upgrade that gives you some really nice features to improve upon the iCloud experience. And I was happy to see that with Apple One, you get it as part of the process, or as part of the service. And you can also just choose to sort of upgrade to it independently. So that is my last one there, which means it's time to move on to the news. And I think we'll just cover a few news stories today. So Rosemary, maybe you pick one that's really standing out for you.
Yeah. So for me, it's really interesting that the iPhone 13 and 13 Pro are going to be getting dual eSIM support for the very first time. So as it is, the iPhone has actually had dual SIM support for a while. That was physical dual SIMs for phones from China and Hong Kong. And this started with, I believe, the iPhone 10, certainly the 10S, because I had a 10S from Hong Kong, 10S Max actually, because I wanted to put 2 physical SIM cards in it. But for everywhere else in the world, it was 1 physical SIM and 1 eSIM. And there wasn't a lot of support to start with for carriers with eSIM, but that's been expanding over time. There's several carriers here in the UK that support it. And I'm really pleased that now we get dual eSIM, because this was one of the things where I was very much on the fence of, do I want eSIM or do I want a physical SIM? And I was pretty much leaning towards going eSIM this year anyway. And now I'm definitely going eSIM, because this way I can still, when I travel, pick up an eSIM or physical SIM and put it in my phone, and I've got those choices available to me. Whereas if I'm using my physical SIM card slot and the only option I've got is getting a physical SIM, then I have to take my SIM out and I won't be able to get messages or calls on that number while I'm using this other SIM. So I'm really psyched about this. This seems to me to be a good upgrade for everybody, because we're getting it. And it doesn't, if you don't use eSIM or you don't use dual SIM, it doesn't affect you. But for those of us who like to travel and be able to grab a local plan, this gives us a lot more options in that we can do things in advance. We can do it at the airport the second we land, instead of going and hunting for a store to buy a SIM and so on. So I'm really glad that this exists, Micah.
Yes, that is going to be really nice for folks to be able to set those up. The one that I wanted to talk about, it's one of those finally moments, Nintendo Switch. If you've got a Nintendo Switch out there, you will be happy to know that they have enabled the ability to connect a pair of Bluetooth headphones to the Nintendo Switch. So if you've been going, I really want to be able to just listen to music, listen to my Nintendo Switch, then you can do that. And of course, that means that your AirPods are able to pair to that as well, which is quite nice.
Yeah, it is. I will note that for some people, I know some of my friends have been trying it. They've experienced a bit of lag. That is to be expected. Bluetooth is not perfect for these things. If you don't want lag, then a cable is going to be your 100% best option. But it is pretty good. And if you've been using something like the 12 Self AirFly or a similar device that plugs into, say, the USB-C port or the headphone port and gives you a Bluetooth connection, you can continue using that. You don't have to directly pair with the Switch itself. I know I have a little Bluetooth adapter that plugs into the USB-C port of my Nintendo Switch, and I'm not going to change from using it for the time being, because I don't need to charge my Nintendo Switch while using it in handheld mode. Mario Kart at lunchtime doesn't take up that much energy, fortunately.
there's a new feature that I was actually really impressed with the way that the whole pre-order process has happened in the new version. In this set of pre-orders, because for me, on Tuesday, when the event took place, I hopped into the Apple Store app to get ready. And in years past, what you would do is set up the iPhone that you wanted and then hit the little heart button to save it to your sort of favorites. And then on the night of, you would go into your favorites, you choose that phone, and then you go through the whole process. This time, they let you take things even farther, which was really awesome. I was able to not only sort of configure the iPhone that I wanted, but it asked me for my payment details and popped open the part where it says, type in the code on the back of the credit card. And it was all ready, set, go for the night of or the morning of the Apple event. So I hopped over and I think it was, 5:04 or something like that when the Apple Store opened for me, and tapped, and I was good to go. It was really impressive how easy that was. But Apple has taken it even further for folks who have on record that you have a pre-order. There's a new setting that pops up in your settings app, and I'll show it here, that says get ready for your new iPhone. And it says use iCloud to move your apps and data to your new iPhone, so that when your new iPhone comes, you can get that all going. You can get it started. The process will let you automatically keep your iCloud backup up to date, so you'll be ready to actually activate your new phone. You can check the trade-in status on your iPhone itself. And then you can also use, it'll remind you that you can use the iPhone that you have to do the transfer to make that a lot faster. So it's just a very easy feature for getting things rolling and getting things set up for whenever your next iPhone arrives, which Rosemary and I are expecting ours to come Friday. So hopefully that's the case.
I'm also expecting a new iPad Mini, Mikah, because I think you're expecting a new iPad Mini as well. And boy, oh boy, do they look pretty. But my iPad Mini is the previous gen, and the Apple Pencil has the chronic problem of it's never got any battery. It never has any battery. Even if I fully charged it before I left the house and I haven't used it, it's out of battery. And I'm really looking forward to this, especially with the Apple Pencil. I will be sharing the Apple Pencil with my iPad Pro. I usually use this for things like filling out forms and stuff, but I do like taking notes. And so I'll just be able to magnetize it to the side of my iPad Mini, take it off and use it, and then leave it on whatever device I used it on last and swap it over to the next one, which is great. And for people who are taken, by the way, with the wallpapers featured in the keynote on Tuesday, there is actually somebody on Twitter has managed to get those for us. And we can put a link to that in the show notes. That was with the beautiful Mini written in different colors. And I really like that. And so you can get it for all of the different sizes of iPhone and even the iPad as well. And it's just a Google Drive link where you can download them all. But it's beautiful. So I'm glad that people are doing that.
Yes. All right. I think we have Shortcuts Corner coming up in just a moment. Hello and welcome to Shortcuts Corner, the part of the show where you write in with your shortcuts questions and requests, and the shortcuts expert Rosemary Orchard gives us her shortcuts solutions. All right, I will read the Shortcuts Corner request from Bustl, who writes, I made a focus mode switch automation. And then that's that smiley face that's upside down. The goal is to have the phone predict the next focus mode and then follow a set of rules based on mode and location. Thoughts? And Bustl has shared a tweet that I believe, has some screenshots showing how this was set up. So tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, so I thought that this was really smart. So essentially, Bustl's got a whole bunch of different focus modes, just like we showed earlier on the show. And then they've gone through and set up various different sets of information that they're using. And it looks to me like they're using dictionaries in the Shortcuts application for this. And then there's locomotor, which I presume is their automation for location focus switching. And it checks to do things like, hey, if the iPhone if the device is an iPhone, then it's going to vibrate it. Or if it's an Apple Watch, it'll vibrate it. It won't try and do vibration on a Mac or an iPad, because guess what? Those don't do vibration, which is, really smart. And then it goes through and it seems to be setting everything up based on, the focus mode and then the next focus mode. I presume these are set up to be sequential or somewhat sequential based on various things. But yeah, I thought that this was really smart. And there's actually a lot of things that you can do with focus modes as your automation trigger to make your life a little bit better, let's say. And so I'm just going to try and connect my iPad again here. I had to disconnect it because I was having some slight issues with apparently memory usage. I'm using 2 gigabytes of RAM and apparently my Mac is out of memory. I guess I need to reboot. But there we go. Let's switch over to my iPad here. And if we pop into the automation section inside of shortcuts, and then we create a new personal automation, when we scroll down, we see what used to be the Do Not Disturb section, which also had sleep mode. And this is now transformed into a focus section. You will see that sleep mode isn't here actually on my iPad Pro, but it does pop up as Do Not Disturb. But basically what you can do is you can create an automation when one of your focus mode turns on, turns off, or both. And so, for example, when podcasting turns on, I can have a whole series of actions run. And depending on, what you're doing and what the focus mode is for, you may want to do different things. Like, for example, you could want to set the volume level to a specific, say, lower volume for when you're at work, because you'll still want to be able to hear things, but you don't want to blast everything out in the entire office. But one of the tricks that I like that I'm doing, Mikah, and I found that this really helps my brain understand that you're doing something different now, is setting my wallpaper. Because you know what? Different images trigger different things in my brain. Just like swiping up on my phone and seeing a different set of apps for when I'm working versus when I'm not working. I also find wallpapers to be really useful. And there is, of course, a set wallpaper action, and you can choose to set different wallpapers as well. And this is really, really useful. Now, if you're doing this on an iPhone, you can also set your Apple Watch face. So you can have your Apple Watch face change automatically as you do different things. So if you work out every day, then you can have a exercise focus mode, which will set a particular Apple Watch face for you, and do a whole bunch of other things. Maybe it'll open specific apps and so on. But what's really great about this, Mikah, as I mentioned this before, and I was really excited because focus modes sync. So guess what? I enable a focus mode on my iPhone. It syncs over to my iPad and it runs a shortcut. Even though I didn't touch my iPad's just sitting there doing its thing, providing that shortcut that you've set up or that automation you've set up doesn't require that your phone or iPad or other device be unlocked, then that automation will just run. And doing things like changing screen brightness, setting volume, things like that, those can all run 100% in the background, just like setting your background is a background action. And so you don't need to have your device unlocked, which means you can say, for example, you've got an NFC tag on your desk. So I've got a whole bunch of them here. These ones aren't programmed. You tap your device on it and it goes, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to set this mode for you. That mode syncs across all of your devices. It goes everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And it can run automations in different places, making lots of different things happen. So if you wanted to, and this is what I was mentioning before, I did have a cooking focus mode for a while because I would enable cooking and I could enable it on a device and it would just very briefly enable. Then it would ping over to my iPhone. My iPhone would enable cooking, set my watch face, and then disable my cooking focus mode. In the end, I decided that this was probably a bit too Rube Goldberg just to set a specific watch face with a timer on for cooking. That seemed over the top and unnecessary. But you know what? You can do a lot with this. And I think that this really shows us how Apple is looking at how we use our phones and how we want to be able to automate our devices and allowing us to do these things. Because, there's a lot of things that we can do and we want to do. And it is getting more powerful every time Apple updates. And so I'm really, really excited by this. And especially with the automations to enable focus modes automatically as it learns. As of not next week, but the week after, I'm going to be going back into the office once a week. We all have a day in the office every single week. I'm excited to see if focus modes will automatically turn on then. Because I'm going to turn off my automation to turn on at specific times on Thursdays. And then it will just automatically, hopefully, turn on after I finish driving that. So I'm going to cross my fingers and see. I'm excited about focus mode automation because I think there's a lot that you can do with this, from basic things like sticking a shortcut on your home screen. Like I have one here. It's a purple home. And whenever I tap it, it goes, hey, so when you get home, add these things. I added it while I was on holiday and I can get rid of it now. But, being able to put these things on our home screen and replicate the apps across so that we can have different lock screens pop up, that can be different shortcuts as well. So you can go wild with focus mode and automations with shortcuts. And of course, what I should mention is as well as being able to create automations based on shortcuts, I'm just going to create a new shortcut quickly and then pop open my iPad. You can also set your focus mode here. So that's an action. It used to be called set do not disturb. Now it's called set focus mode. And you can choose from any of your focus modes here, and you can turn it off or you can turn it on. And you can turn it on until specific times, until you leave, until an event ends, and so on and so forth. And this can be really useful. I mentioned before, I use NFC tags. If you have, for example, a work ID card, which you tap on a reader to get into a building, then guess what? That's almost certainly going to be NFC. You can tap your phone to that and it just reads the ID of the chip. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to fry it or anything like that. You don't need to worry about that. But it will let you, trigger work automations from your work ID. You can tap your phone to your work ID and trigger stuff like your work focus mode. So there we go. Nice. Some ideas for people.
Yes. All right. Let's move on to feedback and questions. We've got a question from James who writes in. So I noticed my iPhone now on iOS 15 lets me know via Find My if I left an AirTag behind. Awesome. But is there a way to turn that on and off only for specific AirTags? For example, I want to know if I forgot my keys, but not if I forgot my daughter's backpack after I dropped her off at school in the morning. This is a great question, James. And this is luckily one of the cool features of AirTags. It lets you choose which ones you want to have notify you and which ones you don't. So Rosemary, do you want to talk about how to turn this on and off?
Yeah, I can do. I'm just going to quickly zoom out a little bit on my iPad before I try to demo this feature. So when you've got AirTags on your devices, you can see I've got several AirTags attached to lots of devices. So I'm going to pick my passport here, and obviously I can swipe to delete it. But when I tap on it, then I can see notifications here. So there's notify when found. So if I've lost it, then I can also enable notify when left behind. And you'll see that this actually is right now enabled for a specific device and for a specific location. But you can also add more locations. Now, I'm not going to go in and do that because if I do that, it's going to pop up with all the addresses in my contacts book. And that's not particularly helpful for anybody else. But what you can do is then have notifications appear anytime that that device has been left behind. Now, by default, it usually excludes your home location, as in it won't notify you if you leave something at home. Now, for me, I'm not great at remembering things. I don't know about you, Mikah, but the number of times I have gone somewhere to buy something, I realized I left my purse or my wallet at home. Apple Pay is a savior. I'm just going to put it that way because you can do a lot of things on Apple Pay. But right now, I don't yet have digital ID, which sometimes I need for things. So I have got an AirTag in my wallet. I 3D printed a little card-shaped thing to put the AirTag in so that it's a uniform shape and size. And that is in there. And if I leave home without that, that will notify me. And this works everywhere, including in CarPlay. So I left home the other day and I got part of the way down the road. I was driving and then pop up over my map at the bottom. It just pops up of, hey, you left your wallet behind. And I'm there going, all right, turn right at the next junction and come back and grab that and then go off again. But that was really useful because I was on my way to pick up a TV I bought and they wanted my ID, unsurprisingly for a new TV. That was pretty good to find out that can be done. And yes, I had a little chat with James earlier in the Club Twit Discord, which was lovely. And he's managed to say specifically, don't notify me when I leave this at her school, but notify me if I leave it somewhere else, which of course for his daughter's backpack is really good. So if he drops her off at school with her backpack, he doesn't get a notification there. But if he drops her off at a friend's house, for example, with her backpack, then he will get a notification that her backpack was left there, which may or may not be useful. So I suspect that list of addresses is going to grow for James, but hopefully this will answer questions for lots of people.
Excellent. All right, let us do one more here. We've got why, and I believe I recognize this name. Rose asks, why are there Siri suggestions in my widget stack?
Yes. Oh, wow. This has been frustrating me on and off over the iOS beta. And unfortunately, I'm not able to demo this because my iPhone is not playing ball. So I might need you to demo this, Mikah, which is modifying a widget stack on iOS has always been, and will probably continue to be for a while, a slightly difficult process. It's changed a little bit now, but oh my gosh, smart widgets just popped up everywhere. And it was suggesting things I didn't want. It was showing water reminders in a widget that I didn't want it to show me water reminders in because I had it in another widget. And then I had two water reminders on my screen at the same time. And it was driving me crazy, Mikah. So how do we fix this? I know how I can fix this, but can you show everybody how we can fix this?
Yes. So, and you just want to show them how to remove a widget?
No, I want to disable Siri suggestions in a widget stack.
Oh, so okay. So we double,
Yeah. If you tap and hold on a widget stack, then it gives you the options there for Smart Rotate and
widget
there we go. Widget suggestions. And that's it. So if you're annoyed, why do these things keep turning around? Why do they keep swapping? I don't want Smart Rotate on, then you can disable that. And you can disable widget suggestions there. And I know that has frustrated one friend of mine in particular. And he should remain unnamed because I don't think he wants to be talked about on a podcast. But why, Apple, why are you shoving things on my home screen that I don't want on my home screen? And I completely understand that. So there we go. This is how you can fix that. Thank God. It should not be on by default, I don't think, personally.
I agree.
You had Siri suggestions in your stack before. It should not have been enabled by default, but that's how you can fix it, folks.
Yeah. Simply tap and hold on the home screen where there isn't anything to activate jiggle mode, and then tap on your stack. And then once you see the stack, you can tap left or right to turn on or off Smart Rotate and widget suggestions. Yeah, was widget suggestions in the earlier betas? Because I don't remember that being a feature there.
So that wasn't a feature as it currently is. What it was is there used to be a Siri suggestions widget that you could add, and then it would do magic things throughout the day. They've now changed this and put it everywhere. I've actually just realized, of course, I have a stack here. You don't have to necessarily go into jiggle mode first, by the way, folks. You can just tap and hold on a widget or a widget stack, and then you can tap edit stack. And then you've got that option right there to toggle that on and off. All of these are just random widgets.
That should totally be off by default.
Oh, it should be off by default. It's so frustrating that it's not. So it used to be that there was a separate Siri suggestions widget. And actually, if you go ahead and you look through, then you can, then these are the suggestions. And if you scroll down, then there's also specific Siri suggestions. There's this 8 app one, and then there's these individual widgets, which just show different things depending on what they think. So for example, apparently I frequently look at the unread articles in NetNewsWire, which is not untrue because that's actually how I manage everything news-wise that I save for the show. But wow, that is a frustrating feature that should not have been left on by default.
Agreed. Alrighty, folks, it is time for App Caps. As I said, I've got a repeat this week. Very dramatic app cap.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, this is actually one of my faves. Folks, this is the part of the show where we wear silly caps atop our head to honor our app picks of the week. These are the apps or gadgets we are loving that we want to share with you. Maybe they're new, maybe they're ones we've been using for a long time, but we think you should check them out. And we have a bit of a theme this week in terms of our app caps because they come from the same developer of one of the best Reddit clients, Apollo. And Christian has come out with a couple of new apps to join Apollo in taking advantage of iOS 15 features. So Rosemary, tell us about the cap atop your head and tell us about your pick of the week.
Yes. Well, these are my lovely Disney mini ears. I've had these for quite a while. I used to work for Disney, and that's why I have them, because they remind me of when I was younger and having fun working for Disney. And the app I am talking about this week, as Mikah mentioned, Christian is the maker of Apollo, the Reddit app. I'm not looking at Apollo today. I'm looking at Achoo. You may sense that there's a theme here, that the names begin with A. We'll have to see if that theme continues. So when you open when you open Achoo, it will pop up with this, because Achoo is a HTML viewer and inspector. So to start with, we need to go to Safari and select extensions and then turn on Achoo for all websites. So that's something I can do. I'll just swipe down into my search to open the settings application and then scroll down looking for Safari. This is where you want to get comfortable and search extensions and then turn on Achoo. Now you'll notice here, by the way, there's one password extension as well. That's something we'll get to in the future. And I'm just going to allow this for all websites because otherwise it gets a little bit frustrating. So now I can pop back here and say, got it. And then it'll give me a little intro on how to activate it. So go to a page in Safari that you want to view the HTML for, bring up the Safari options, and then tap Achoo HTML. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to move away from the cat doing laundry, as cute as that is, because I don't think their HTML is super awesome. I'm going to go to this website. I don't think anybody knows this. It's called twit.tv, Mikah. I don't know. They seem to have this podcast called name. iOS Today. My name's on it. It's cool. And now what I can do is I can type the Achoo option right up here. It's in the menu. There's also an extensions option where I can manage all of my extensions. I only have Achoo enabled right now. And I can actually see all of the HTML here. And if I wanted to, I can go right in and edit it, which means that I will be able to change things. And so say, for example, I want to change some stuff, then I can do that later. And then I will be able to save this and get all of this back out so that I can then make edits. Now, this is not necessarily going to be an application that everybody's going to immediately want to download and install. But if you are a web developer or you have your own website and you think, oh, wow, okay, this looks a little bit off. This is 99 cents. It is worth downloading. It's a lovely little tool to have in your arsenal of things. And it will allow you to just do a little bit of inspection and see what's going on a website to find out where maybe that tiny little bug is, where you can go, oh, hey, look, this one, like all of these are nav items, but one of these is a nav item live. Okay, that's why it's got this yellow border around it, so that you know this. Yeah, I really like this. It's a tiny utility, but it's a great utility. And Christian seems to have done a great job. I did vote for the icon when he put the vote up on Twitter. I didn't know what it was going to be for right then, but I thought something great was coming. And I'm pleased to say that something great is here. Yeah, it's lovely. It supports light mode, dark mode, and it does exactly what it says it does. It allows you to view and inspect HTML on a web page.
Beautiful. It's in the vein of sort of making little tools. Christian has also made a great app called Implosion. And let's think about that for a minute. Implosion. First of all, it does start with an A as well. But what does this do? Well, it's a very simple tool. It lets you take those pesky AMP links that some websites serve up that are from Google searches. It's Google's tool for trying to make fast loading web pages available. But the problem is then whenever you share the link, it doesn't always share the actual link to the article. With Implosion, it basically bypasses AMP links. So if you are visiting a page via an AMP link, that can be very annoying. This, simply by having it turned on, will let you bypass those links. But while I think that is amazing, that is not the reason that I love this app. The reason I love this app is because it comes with a little Tamagotchi style toy built into it with Lord Waffles, the dog, where Lord Waffles just hangs out in the app and you can tap on things to make sure he gets fed. You can pet him by tapping on him. He makes these cute little barking sounds. There's a little bit of a haptic feedback as he's digging. And then you can also collect little bandanas that you can change out to different colors. I'm waiting to see if there's a green bandana as I've been playing this. So it's not just an app that sort of exists in the background to help you bypass the different AMP pages, but also there's a little toy built in. And then it comes with a bunch of different app icons that are sort of styled to remove the AMP. But of course, I have one of the Lord Waffles icons. And in fact, I think I'm going to change this, that there's a little white one called Fun in the Snow. And it works with the new Safari extensions feature. So there's actually a little thing that shows you how to do it. You open the settings app, you select Safari, you select extensions, you turn on Implosion, you turn it on again, and then make sure it's turned on for all websites. That way, it's able to see a website and then just automatically sort of bypass that AMP link and get you directly to the page. This one is available for $1.99 in the App Store. And Christian deserves all the monies for all of the cool apps that he makes. And I think it's also an open source tool, so you can go and see the code and everything as well if you'd like to make sure it's not, sort of looking at what you're doing, because the whole point of this Implosion app is that then Google can't use the tracking of AMP links to sort of see what you're doing. So yes, go check those out. And then while you're there, if you browse Reddit at all, join the rest of us in using the brilliant Apollo as your Reddit app of choice, because it is just a beautiful app on iPad and iPhone. And yes. We love the apps that he makes. So thank you for that. And folks, that brings us to the end of this episode of iOS Today. So let me throw back my veil so I can say goodbye. You can email us with your questions, your Shortcuts Corner requests, iOS2day@twit.tv. We record the show live every Tuesday now at 9 a.m. Pacific, which is the original time that we had. And you can go to twit.tv/live to watch us record the show live. But the best way to get the show is by going to twit.tv/iOS and subscribing to the show using your service of choice, be that Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We recommend getting the video version of the show, but we do try to be aware of those who listen via audio and do necessary descriptions of everything. But yeah, that's where you go to do that. If you would like to get all of our shows ad-free, you should check out Club Twit. For $7 a month, you're going to get every Twit show with no ads. You also get access to the exclusive Twit Plus bonus feed that has extra content you won't find anywhere else. And I think the best part, access to the members-only Discord server where you can join us in conversation and also share messages during the show. And also that's a great way to send your feedback, questions, requests as well, because we are there with our eyes on it. And Rosemary is a very active member of the community, and we appreciate that. Rosemary Orchard, if folks want to follow you online and check out your great work, where do they go to do that?
The best place is rosemaryorchard.com. I have just reworked the website, so if something's broken, do let me know, and you'll be able to find my email address on there. And of course, links to all of my social media, including micro.blog and Twitter, where my username is Rosemary Orchard. Micah, what about you?
Well, the best place to go is chihuahua.coffee, CHIHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I'm most active online, or you can just type in my name at Mikah Sargent, all one word, because that's the username I use on as many social media networks as I join. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of iOS Today. We, of course, will be back next week with more. But until then, we say goodbye and have a great rest of your day or night, depending on when you're listening to this. Adios.
Have you ever read a tech news story and thought to yourself, man, I would love to talk to the person who wrote this to find out more information? Well, that's exactly what Mikah Sargent and I, Jason Howell, do each and every week on Tech News Weekly. We read the stories that matter to us, we reach out to the people making and breaking the tech news, and we invite them on to tell their story. And you can find it at twit.tv. Look for Tech News Weekly every Thursday.